So today's reading was in chapter 21 of the book of Acts, and it continued the story that I started yesterday where Paul was leaving Ephesus and headed toward Jerusalem. And what I noticed as I was reading along is how Paul and his group of friends that he was traveling with relied on Christians to take care of them and to host them on this long journey. So they started in Ephesus in Turkey. And I'm just going to kind of hit some of the highlights of this trip that he took and show you what the Bible says about how he was taken care of. So it started out in Acts 21, verse 1 through 4. They went to the city of Tyre, and there it says they looked up the local disciples, the local Christians, and they stayed there for 7 days. Now it doesn't say that they announced that they were coming, that they had sent a message ahead of time. They just showed up and they said, okay, we need to find the Christians, because they're the ones that are going to host us, they're the ones that are going to take care of us, and that's how it went. And so for a whole week they stayed there with these people that they may or may not have known very well. And then on down in verses 7 through 9, they went to the city of Ptolemais, and it says there that Paul and his group greeted our Christian friends, and they stayed there for 1 day. So again, they showed up in the town, and the Christians took care of them, hosted them, fed them, and helped them get where they needed to go for a day. And then they went down to Caesarea. The Bible says that the people, Paul and his group, stayed with Philip for several days. So there they just show up, and they're on the doorstep of Philip and say, hey, we need your help. Philip was an evangelist. We're traveling through. It's good to see you. We're going to stay here for a few days. And that's just how it went. And then finally in verses 17 through 19 it says, in Jerusalem, our friends, glad to see us, received us with open arms. And so the example here that these early Christians set is one of love and generosity and openness and kindness. And that's something that maybe I think a lot of us don't have today in our culture, and is that we're not open like that. I mean, yes, this is a different time, and things were different, and this is a different culture, and I get that. But still, it's a good example that we can take even in our time and even in our culture, is to be more open and to be more loving and more kind to one another, to be better hosts when we need to be. The Bible says that Christians will be known by their love for one another. So it's just something to think about and work on, and maybe pray about how God might want you to be more generous and more kind, and how to step out of this need that we have in America for total privacy, and even maybe even as a guest, ask people. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. That will encourage them to maybe think about how they can be more generous and more kind and more open. So just something that I noticed that as I was reading Paul's story about how he traveled from Ephesus down to Jerusalem. Have a good day.